Live from Bethesda, Maryland, where the winters are hard and the cookies are soft. This is the Robert Dyer Channel Christmas Countdown 2022. And now the man recognized as the Charles Foster Kane of Christmas newspapers around the world, Robert Dyer. Hi everybody, Robert Dyer, and welcome to the Robert Dyer Channel Christmas Countdown, where today I'll be reviewing the Financial Times Festive edition for 2022, and this is their annual special edition that comes out for the Christmas holiday. Now, I reviewed it 2 years ago and it was pretty good. Last year it was not up to my standards for broadcast. It was quite a step down from the 2020 edition, so I simply did not review it. But taking a look through this edition, I think it was a great improvement over last year from what I could see from skimming through it. Now this costs $3. Certainly a globalist publication. You are not going to get a right-wing or left-wing nationalist type view from this publication, but at the same time the writing is very high quality and you're going to get news from countries around the world that I don't find in any other newspaper. Okay, so here we see the front page, and the first thing that probably gets your attention is this illustration here, which shows various things from the last year, as well as up here it says FT Weekend. Now ordinarily if you get the paper in the weekdays, it's going to say Financial Times, but they become the FT on the weekend apparently. And you see here it says International Newspaper of the Year. And just to zoom in here, we have, I think, Tucker Carlson, Drake, Beyonce, a guy from the boy band or something, Stranger Things, House of the Dragon, no idea who that is, Darth Vader, The Lord of the Rings on Amazon, Taylor Swift, and I don't know who that is. So we have our first festive story on page 3. Bethlehem sees tourism rebirth in Christmas boost for city. And this is all about the struggles of businesses that rely on the tourism in Bethlehem, starting with the international problem 2 years ago that YouTube doesn't let us talk about. I guess it's really 3 years ago at this point. See, there's a nativity scene here. Some tourists taking their photos. A gift shop. And then you have some quotes from the different business people. And this is a feature they call Big Read. It's one long article that's usually in every edition. And today it is about the resilient consumer. Basically the message is everything is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We have a festive photo here with the Christmas lights and people with shopping bags. So here we have the editorial page, and again you can rely on this to give you a corporate boardroom sort of perspective on the issues. This is a British newspaper, and there was some sort of a report that came out in England about how now I think Christians are a minority and that religious worship in general is declining, and they've been sort of celebrating that with some snarky articles, and now they have this editorial, A Search for Meaning in Secular Times, which I think is quite accurate because that we are living in a sort of a time when people have replaced religion with other things. And then here we have the letters of the year, and the letters are usually quite good in here on a daily basis. Many intelligent readers of this publication. And here you have James Cameron. The only really festive op-ed today is this one by John Gapper, where he's making an argument in favor of wrapping your Christmas gifts despite all the environmental concerns and other reasons people say you shouldn't wrap gifts anymore. I don't see too many people following that, but it's definitely on message for the festive edition. And here on page 11 we have another festive article, One Last Eggnog on Credit Reveals the History and Humanity of Financial Systems. And this is about an old ledger from a tavern in 1787 from Liberty Town, which is right here in the state of Maryland. And it's very interesting because it records everybody's bar tab, what they ordered, and it mentions here the bartender making one last note before presenting the tab for collection on Christmas Eve for a single bowl of eggnog. It says the Liberty Town books offer a single moment of human decision, an act of grace in finance, and eggnog on credit at Christmas. And then here we have the forecast of extreme Arctic temperatures for Christmas Eve. And then this is the second of the two sections, Life and Arts. And you have here on the front an illustration of an Advent wreath. This is a story, it's fairly long, a couple of pages, about a teacher who goes from London, from a public school, to teach in a Catholic school in the north of England, and about the differences between the two. And here, right on page 2 inside, we have a painting by Antonello da Messina from 1476, Virgin Annunciate. And this column is talking a bit about how this is maybe a less appreciated painting of this event in the New Testament. And here on page 4 we've got the larger version of that illustration on the front page. This is the Life and Arts quiz, and you have 30 questions here, trivia questions about the last year. We have an Omega watch ad that is talking about winter more than about the holidays. And it says you can see the snow there. And it says, amid the freshly fallen snow, a glistening Omega wonder is revealed. Even in these frozen seconds of time, there is a forward momentum. And then it mentions about the white mother of pearl dial and diamond hour markers, the perfect choice for a magical winter. So I certainly appreciate when the company has a Christmas themed ad. Page 7, travel. There's a postcard from a town in France where everybody gets a large cup of turkey broth that's served from a blazing fire pit during this festival of the turkey held every December in Liège, a small town near Calais, renowned for its poultry, with 80 producers among a population of just over 1,600. And then up here you have a report about ski and spa retreats in Austria. You can see there's a little map here. Yeah, some photos. And there's a great view. I gotta zoom in on that view of the Alps. Looking out the window. I think I see some kind of a reindeer up there. And here in the books section you have a seasonal short story that was written exclusively for this festive edition by Brandon Taylor, who had a book that says here shortlisted for the 2020 Booker Prize called Real Life. And here in the arts page you have appropriately several nativity scene paintings from the National Gallery in Britain, of course. We have our own National Gallery of Art here in the United States, in Washington. A lot of these are very stylized. I don't think any of them are very accurate in their depictions. Here you have the three kings. I also think they could have made these pictures a little bigger, like the ones at the top here. You can't really appreciate them in a thumbnail size. And here, The Life of a Song. This is something that's in every weekend edition throughout the year. It's often very interesting, but it tends to have a British perspective, so some weeks you just have to shake your head wondering what in the world they're talking about. And this is one of them. They're talking about a song from the Snowman that is supposed to be... I've never seen this movie, I've never heard this song, so I guess it's just not... I'm not in the target audience or demographic or whatever, but apparently it was quite successful in the UK, and many people have covered it, including Nightwish. And then over here, this is somewhat festive in that the play being reviewed is called Snowed In. Whether it's any good or not, I don't know, but it looks like it got 4 out of 5 stars. Here on page 14 we have the Christmas crossword. I like that. They didn't just have a regular crossword. Now this over here is not labeled for Christmas, but I've got to acknowledge any crossword that is number 11 across. Sir Jackie, Scottish racing driver. Of course they are talking about the immortal Jackie Stewart, one of my favorite race car drivers and commentators of all time. This is a feature called Spectrum. It is winter themed, but it's kind of odd. It's a 2-page long article about a woman who has fallen 3 times in the Swiss Alps. my advice probably would be it might be time to start thinking about a different travel destination. And here we have the food and drink part of Spectrum, and instead of just a standard recipe, I like the fact that they have made a recipe for your turkey leftovers. And this is a recipe for a turkey salad. It looks pretty good, and it says it's inspired by one of the great Asian restaurants in London. Here they have the recipe down below. And it says, it gives a suggested pairing of a cold, fresh Riesling. Try Charles Smith Kung Fu Girl, it says. And then here's the weekly wine column, and it talks about Christmas dinner, red Bordeaux. But in general, it's a bit more about Bordeaux than it is about Christmas. So it's only tangentially festive. Now we are getting down to the second to last page here, and we have four sections of the page, and only half of them are festive. Here we have a very festive ad from a financial company in Milano, Italy, Myfin, and they actually say Merry Christmas. I guess that Donald Trump allowed them to say it. And Happy New Year. And then up here we have a photograph that's actually a staged photo on a set, but it's made to look like a family photograph. It's from 2008, called Colson Family. And we see the Christmas tree there. We see the family with no father for some reason. And it's hard to see, but there on the right, a television and a bunch of DVDs all stacked up next to it. So this probably could have benefited from a larger size in the print, but it's still a festive photo, even if it's staged. And then here you have one of 1,000 articles about the AI writing and elites freaking out about how maybe Joe Sixpack is going to be able to push a few buttons and generate the same stuff that they do for $100,000 a year. More power to them, that's all I can say. AI putting the tools into the hands of the common man. And then we have the very strange choice that in the spot where the newspaper's best columnist writes every week, we have somebody else filling in about books I plan not to write in 2023. So it's kind of disappointing. I believe the one I reviewed 2 years ago had this column. This here's a one I cut out this year. This was one of the best ones he wrote. Why I, a non-driver, wish the car well. And it was not only a rare article in favor of the automobile in any newspaper these days, but he brought up a couple of points that nobody's really talked about before, which is number one, that traffic in cities is part of the energy of cities overall. That why would you go to the city if you want it to be all dead and quiet? And number two, I think the very best of all that I circled here is he says there is a kind of urbanism conceived by and for people who might be happier in the country. And I don't think anybody's ever quite summarized it that well, is that You know, these people come to the city and then they say, I want it quiet. Well, I mean, it sounds like somebody that would rather be in the country. So I just thought it was kind of odd to not have your best columnist in the festive edition. And so instead of content on the back page, we at least have a festive advertisement. Some more holiday lights here. Well, I think as I had the sense from skimming through beforehand, I think this was certainly quite a step up from last year, and I think pretty much on par with the one I reviewed 2 years ago. I think other than the little bit of a drop off at the far end of the newspaper, that it was pretty consistently festive throughout the 2 sections that are included. You had a nice smattering of articles throughout the newspaper so that the Christmas spirit didn't ever quite tail off until the very end. So while I think this was a very festive edition, and it was certainly a very high quality publication, I'm going to go ahead and give this 4 stars out of 5, because I think there's still a festive edition I can imagine that would be even more festive, that would have even more Christmas content and bigger photographs as needed, and not dropping the top columnist for the festive edition, as well as making sure that the very last pages of the newspaper are as festive as the first. So I hope you like this video. Share it with your friends. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time, tomorrow, on this Christmas countdown. Bye, everybody.